All right, here's part 2 about arranging coordinates. This time we're going to be looking at the distance from to and from the equator and to and from the prime meridian. So first of all, let's look at a map. And if I'm looking at, don't worry about these numbers over here, just look at the prime meridian, which would be right here, and the equator, which is right here at 0 degrees latitude. So what I'm looking at are which coordinates are closer. If you were just looking at the numbers themselves of coordinates, could you tell whether they're closer to the equator, or maybe if it was looking at the prime meridian? If you're looking at a map, you could just kind of look at it and figure it out. But if you were just given the coordinates, would you be able to figure that out? Well, if we just took these examples, just these top two, 40 degrees west, 90 degrees east, we could look at these on here and tell how far away they are from the equator or the prime meridian. But if we're just focusing on the equator first, the higher the coordinate, whether it's north or south, means the further you're getting from the equator. The lower the coordinate means the closer you're getting to the equator. So 1 degrees north and south is very close to the equator. 90 degrees north or south is very far away from the equator. So the smaller the number, the closer you are to the equator. The bigger the number, the further you are away from the equator. So based on that information, which one is closer to the equator? Well, it says the higher the coordinate means the further you're getting away from the equator. So that means the bigger the number, the further away it is. So in other words, the smaller the number, the closer you're getting. So here, which coordinate is closer to the equator? 10 degrees north or 40 degrees north? Well, the smaller number is going to be closer to the equator, so that should be 10 degrees north. That's the closer one to the equator. How about these examples? Which ones are closer to the equator? 30 degrees north or 50 degrees north? If we're looking at closer to the equator, it's always going to be which number is lower, because the lower the number, the closer it is to 0. You just got to kind of think about it like a number line, where if 0 is the equator, then the real question is which is closest to 0 degrees latitude. Well, the lower the number, the closer it is to 0 degrees latitude. So this first one is 30. The second one, which one's closer to the equator, should be 10 degrees south. That's the lower number. This one, 35 north or 35 south. This one's a trick question. It's the same. They're both the same distance away. 20 north or 40 south. This one's different because I have a north and a south, but it doesn't really matter. We're just looking at, if you're talking about distance from the equator, then the lower the number, the closer it is to the equator, because we're looking at how far away is it from 0 degrees latitude. So 20 degrees north is the right answer here. And for the last one, 40 degrees south or 15 degrees north, which one's closer to the equator? Should be 15 degrees north. It's the lower number, which means it's closer to 0, which is what the equator is at 0 degrees. Now here's a similar idea, except we're looking at the prime meridian. Remember, the prime meridian is that longitude line at 0 degrees, the one in the middle of the earth that goes up and down at 0 degrees. The higher the coordinate means the further you're getting from the prime meridian. So as you go from 100 to 120 to 140 to 160, the higher you're going up, the further you are going either east or west away from the prime meridian. And the lower the number means you're getting closer to the prime meridian. Remember, the prime meridian is at 0 degrees longitude. So the lower the number, that means that you're getting closer to 0, which means you're getting closer to the prime meridian. Which coordinate's closer to the prime meridian? This should say prime meridian, sorry. Which one's closer, 100 degrees east or 40 degrees east? Should be 40 degrees east because it's a lower number. How about these sets of coordinates? Which ones are closer to the prime meridian? Remember, the lower the number, the closer it is to 0. And 0 is the prime meridian, 0 degrees longitude. So for the first one, the lower number is 30, so that should be the one that's closest to the prime meridian. How about this, 50 degrees west or 10 degrees west? Which one is closer to the prime meridian? Should be 10 degrees. Good. 135 east or 135 west. Those are both the same, so they're both equal distance apart. They're both the same distance apart. 120 east or 40 west. Which one is closer to the prime meridian? Remember, prime meridian is 0 degrees longitude. So which one is closer to 0? 120 east or 40 west? Should be 40 west. And the last one, 40 west or 115 east. Once again, should be 40 west. Now for the final test. Which coordinate is closest to the equator? Now here's a big difference. I've stepped it up a notch here. Now we have both set of coordinates. We have latitude and longitude both listed here. So for this first one, 30 degrees north and 150 degrees east, which coordinate is closest to the equator? The key here when you get a set of coordinates like this is to know, okay, well, the equator is a latitude line. It's measured in north and south distance from the equator. That's how latitude lines are measured, is how far north of the equator or how far south of the equator they are. And so here you want to look at the first term only. So we know that the latitude lines is the first. We always go latitude first, then longitude. So because we're looking at the equator, the distance from the equator, we don't even need to look at these 150 east, 10 west, 100 east. You don't even need to look at those. We're just looking at the first set of coordinates because we want to find the latitude. So the coordinate that's closest to the equator is the latitude number that is closest to 0, because the equator is at 0 degrees latitude. So that would be this third coordinate. 10 degrees north, 100 east is the closest to the equator because the latitude number 10 is the smallest of those three. Similar question, except now we're looking at the prime meridian. Which coordinates closest to the prime meridian? Well, prime meridian is a longitude number. Our longitude numbers are the second numbers, 150 east, 10 west, 100 east. So you don't even need to look at these first ones. We're just looking at the second term in the coordinate. The one that's closest to 0 degrees longitude is the lowest number, which would be 45 degrees south and 10 degrees west. That is the coordinate that's closest to the prime meridian. Hopefully this makes a little bit of sense, especially when we get some practice in.